Hey, Wookdar, Dario. Yeah, it's the social implications and use of Darwin's theory of natural selection that frighten me. The idea that because we think nature is nothing but competition, survival of the fittest, and so on, that therefore it is okay um, for our economy to be based on individual people competing against others for limited resources, and that somehow that setup is the best way to further the health and well-being of our species and the rest of the Earth community. Um, that is so obviously wrong. I mean, all we have to do is look at the results of a couple hundred years of such behavior to see why it is wrong. Um, but the other problem is that it's a misuse of a biological theory which was never meant to explain all of nature or all of evolution. Nobody's saying that natural selection is not operating in nature. I've never claimed that. Um, all that I'm trying to claim is that the addition of systems biology, which basically it's a counter force to the trend toward reductionism in science because it takes the whole into consideration. Um, because oftentimes in nature the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. In other words, the emergent property, the large scale phenomenon of interaction and process and development through time, cannot be understood by just looking at the components that make up that system. The molecules of DNA, the atoms, the particles, those individual bits and pieces do not provide enough information to understand the system as a whole. And when you take the system as a whole into consideration, all of a sudden it appears that there is as much cooperation in nature as there is competition, because all these pieces are working together to produce this larger property which could not exist without cooperation between the components. So there's more than just survival of the fittest. Natural selection is not a complete explanation for evolution. It doesn't explain the origin of species. It explains variation among species. Um, yeah. But most of this is just about applying Darwinism to social theory. It doesn't work. It hasn't worked. It's just immoral and backward, and it's an excuse to exploit people. You agree with that? Um, as far as trying to spiritualize this stuff, look, there's science and then there's spirituality. They should be distinct. Science shouldn't try to say spirituality is bullshit. Like I said, they're distinct. However, putting science aside, if people don't have a way of understanding and interpreting their existence in this world positively, and if existence itself is just plain depressing, then what's the point? People need a way to not be depressed, right?